Microsoft kicks VBScript to the pasture. CISA shares the good, the bad, and the oh so ugly. And Google will protect you from AI copyright issues. Kinda. These stories and much more on today's episode of MSP Dispatch.
This episode is presented by OIT VoIP. Enhance your client's communication abilities with our VoIP solution, featuring integrated billing, on-demand training, and live US support. Collaborate seamlessly with Microsoft Teams integration and put your entire phone system in your pocket with Mobile X. Improve your offerings and increase profitability with reliable service for 1/10 of the average MSP acquisition cost. To learn more, visit oit.co or dial 844-CALL-OIT.
Good morning and welcome to the October 17th episode of MSP Dispatch, your source for news, community events, and commentary in the MSP channel. I'm Jason Slagle, joined by my co-host, Mr. Tony Francisco. How you doing today, Tony?
I am excellent. This is so awesome. We're like here, but we're not here. Like if I look at you, I'm like, hi, Jason, how are you? And you're like, hi, Tony, I think you're there, but I can't see you or like hear you unless it's in my ear. How are you doing, brother? Talk to me.
I'm good. I had a pretty good weekend. We got the hot tub hooked back up, which is always exciting. So now I can hot tub again. We unhooked it when we put the pool in.
Oh.
Pool's closed now. I live in Ohio, right? It's cold here now.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way. As you can see in Florida.
It's just waterfalls forever.
That's because you think of mountain terrains in Florida. So this weekend, I'm putting together some stuff for the kids. I'm like, you guys got to get like jobs or maybe start a new company. I don't want you waiting tables at Golden Corral in Tampa, Florida. I want you to actually have a job. You may possibly just throwing this out there, have some people that would have some ideas about how to create companies. So the kids are kind of excited. They're coming up with all these new business ideas. And it's weird watching, because you and I have talked to so many entrepreneurs, so many CEOs about what it takes, but it is fascinating when you listen to the entrepreneurs and you're like, I don't know if this is the right fit for you. You are possibly the largest single-celled organism. You need to see the funny, you're laughing because you know it's true. But then I listen to my sons, 13 and 14 years old, and they're talking about, what if we have like price ranges? What's a good word for that, Dad? I go, dynamic pricing. Yes, dynamic pricing. If we fit dynamic pricing in like this, but then we have a scale out here, but it doesn't scale out over there. And I'm like, who are you? Like this is, and then I go back to the CEOs that you and I have talked to so many times. I mean, we're literally running multi-million-dollar organizations in the tens, if not hundreds of millions. And I'm like, you don't scope past the single thread. Okay. Anyway, it is a fascinating conversation to have with kids though, because they break down the obvious things that,
Yeah, they don't have any preconceived notions, right? So like they don't have dozens of years of being told no or being told something won't work. So every idea is new to them. And guess what? Some of those ideas will actually work. They were just poorly implemented when you were told no before.
That you are hitting it on the head. And think out of the box. There is no box.
There's no box.
There's no box. And so
the construct we make in our heads.
Oh man. Speaking of other stuff we make in our heads, let's get into the news.
Sweet.
Let's do it. Jumping into my first story from darkreading.com from Terra Seals. Microsoft is set to deprecate VBScript, a Windows programming language dating back to 1996, which has been a favored tool for cyber criminals. In future Windows versions, VBScript will be an optional feature and it will eventually be removed entirely. Although it was introduced as a lightweight script generator, malicious actors have used it for unauthorized access, particularly after Microsoft began blocking macros. Notable malware exploiting VBScripts include the I Love You worm, Emotet, CACBot, and Darkgate. Microsoft's plan is to initially have VBScript disabled by default, but available for users to activate. A timeline for its complete removal hasn't been provided. Jason, this is an emotional topic for me personally. I love VBScript. I've been using it forever. And for all of you out there who remember hosted Microsoft Exchange, where you had the VBScript that connected your Outlook client to the Exchange server, if you look in that VBScript, you will see my initials, TF, all over the place. And if you go back to early 2004, you will see that there is a mistyped VBScript. It's called the RPC over HTTPS connector tool. Wow. That did not include the S in the HTTP. And I believe I have implemented the first truly global I don't say hack, but exploitation, where I'm transmitting all of your data in clear text over the internet but it was not intentional. It was one of those, and then issued out the next VBScript with a mea culpa in there. So, what are your thoughts on VBScript? And by that I mean, when I say it, does it give you nightmares?
It does. I wonder what they're going to do about Microsoft Access, because I think it might actually just be written in VBScript.
The entire application is in VBScript. Okay.
But from a more serious standpoint, this has been a writing on the wall for a while, right? Like PowerShell has taken over all of the things you would have done with VBScript. The crazy ways you can obfuscate things and concatenate strings and all the other weirdness you can do with VBScript that are a little bit difficult in some of those more like modern languages. I think it's time for it to go, honestly.
Well, is this a scenario of like a Rubik's Cube where you line everything up with VBScript because it was working great, but the other side is what was that? Oh yeah, it's a total hack, and it wasn't structured. But now we line it up on the other side where we have PowerShell, which is an amazing tool. Are we just not seeing the parts of the Rubik's Cube that may be a little bit off? I mean, that is kind of life, where you line things up on one side and the other side, you kind of screwed a whole bunch of things up. Is this the next step? Is PowerShell going to follow that same process?
No, I think PowerShell's here for a while. I think that the path is Microsoft wants you to write PowerShell and not VBScript, and like no resources have gone into VBScript as far as I know for quite some time. So it makes sense that they finally have likely gotten to a point where enough of their internal tools have been ported over to PowerShell that they can remove VBScript, and I'm almost positive that that's what you're going to find, is that there were internal barriers at Microsoft that prevented them from removing this, and they finally cleared those up. I can't remember the last time I came across legitimate VBScript, right? Like everything that I come across these days on the MSP side of the house is either 10 years old or PowerShell.
Okay, so I'm going to say this right now. Nostalgia is like a drug that can prevent you from seeing what really happened. And nostalgically, I love VBScript, but I will say this one thing as we jump into the next story that you are covering. If you were a CISA, would you recommend a VBScript?
Oh no! I wouldn't recommend VBScript or VB to anyone, right? Like, when can VBA go away, right? Like, can we get rid of everything with Visual Basic in the name of it?
Okay, so with that, let's go over to the next story and let's talk about CISA stuff.
Sounds great. CISA shares vulnerabilities and misconfigurations used by ransomware gangs. Source, Bleeping Computer. The U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency, CISA, is taking an active stance against ransomware attacks by sharing insights on vulnerabilities and misconfigurations exploited by ransomware groups. Through its Ransomware Vulnerability Warning Pilot program, CISA has identified and disclosed information about over 800 vulnerable systems that are often targeted by ransomware operations. And these disclosures are intended to assist critical infrastructure organizations in safeguarding their networks. The initiative acknowledges that ransomware attacks frequently leverage well-known vulnerabilities and exposures, or CVEs, that some organizations may be unaware of. To combat this, CISA has introduced a known to be used in ransomware campaign column in its known exploited vulnerabilities catalog and created a new RVWP resource listing misconfigurations and weaknesses used in ransomware attacks. This proactive approach is part of a broader campaign initiated in response to the rising threat of ransomware to critical infrastructure, exemplified by high-profile attacks on entities like Colonial Pipeline and JBS Foods. As a result, the agency's efforts are geared towards equipping organizations with the knowledge and resources needed to effectively defend against and mitigate ransomware threats. Tony, that's a mouthful. What do you think of that?
And lob it back over to you. There's a lot going on there. So essentially, so if we can put these in little boxes.
Yep.
CISAs are disclosing information. And before we move any further, what are your thoughts on that? Is such a sensitive topic because, Ray and I just talked about it last week, disclosing information from a vendor perspective, you're letting everyone know that you have something there to exploit.
Yes.
But you're letting the CISAs and security teams fix the issues. But what about the ones that don't get to it fast enough? And the question is, how many vendors are out there that, I mean, was it average MSP has a stack of, I think it's 32 or 34 tools, subscription tools that you're using at all times. And that's a kind of a common, it's not you probably, realistically, you could probably pick up 50 right now. Like you don't even think of the ancillary ambient tools that you're using in the background. But you have to keep all of those up to date at all times. So assuming one a month is happening, well, you now have, possibly 50 different updates that are affecting you a month. So the question is, from a CISA disclosure perspective, what are your thoughts? Is there a proper order, timing, cadence? Give me your thoughts on that structure. But this is before we were even talking about the article itself.
Yeah. So obviously I'm well-versed here. I'm a member of JCDC, which is a partnership with CISA, right? So there's actually a lot more that they don't share publicly. That happens on the backside. They typically won't release information on vulnerabilities that aren't currently being exploited, right? Or there is no patch for, right? So you'll see, and you can even see it with the WebP thing that came out. If you look at the vulnerability, the ID assigned to it, it was assigned quite some time ago. And it was basically sat on until there was a patch out and people could patch it, right? Because to your point, you obviously don't want to tell people that the sky is falling, right? Or that there's this huge vulnerability in this software if there's no fix for it, because the threat actors are then going to go pick apart the software and they will probably find it.
You're giving them a map. You're saying, hey, here's the way to do it. Here's the way to exploit it.
Yeah, and I mean, we see that all the time, and that's been a whole discussion around, particularly the WebP stuff, where we've got vendors that are vulnerable to some of these vulnerabilities that have not released statements indicating they are because they're afraid of telling the threat actors, hey, come look at us, we've got vulnerable stuff here. But at the same time, the threat actors still could do that, right? Like the security by obscurity is obscurity, and as long as it's obscure, it's still secure, and that doesn't often stay that way.
That's why I triple nat everything. I'm just kidding. Oh, some of the geeks out there are laughing.
Yes.
Others are like, what was that? What is nat? I don't understand. Security through obscurity. So in this particular case, in this particular article, it talks very specifically about Colonial Pipeline, JBS Foods, and things that went upstream. MSPs were 100% a target when they went upstream to the Kaseya hack a while ago, and there's going to be some other tools. I think the MSP community is going to be far more responsive than the average customer out there. That's exactly why we are being paid what we're being paid. But I still think it's too much. I think that the liability, the responsibility, now they're implying that the CISA should actually be personally liable for that. Does that terrify you?
Not really. I mean, one would hope that MSPs stay ahead of the curve. My own empirical data indicates that less do than you may hope. It's getting better, but it's still a problem. And there are 1,020 entries right now into that known exploited vulnerabilities catalog, right? So just adding that additional column to indicate whether or not it's used by ransomware, I actually think that's really useful because, to your point, if there are 50 things a year that we have to patch and we have to update, right, it comes down to a prioritization and a timeliness thing, right? Like where I maybe am going to deprioritize things. If I don't have enough time, let me deprioritize things that are not being used for ransomware, and then it very much prioritize the things that are, such as the Atlassian, Jira, Confluence, vulnerability. I'm pretty sure you guys covered recently.
No, you're hitting it on the head. I'd like to point out that the tools that we're referring to are not just the management tools that the MSP is using, but also all the underlying administrative tools that you're also using that people don't even think about. Everything from QuickBooks, for example, even the apps on your phone are a surface area that can be exploited and attacked. This is a conversation I would love to talk about, more of a much larger conversation about, frankly, just taking a lot of information out of your head and at some point trying to inject my paranoia in there. But I am certain that you are going to provide valuable information, at the very least, valuable compensation to the therapists that you can fall to after that conversation. So with that, let's jump into the next story.
Sounds great.
Jumping into the next story from arstechnica.com, sourced from Benj Edwards, Google announced its intention to defend Google Cloud and Workspace users of its generative AI systems against intellectual property violation claims. The protection is twofold. Firstly, it covers the use of copyrighted works to train AI, and secondly, it covers the content produced by these AI systems. The policy will apply to software like Vertex AI and Duet AI, but notably, Google's generative AI chatbot Bard was not mentioned. Google will not offer protection if users deliberately use AI output to infringe on others' rights. This move follows similar commitments by Microsoft and Adobe. The use and output of generative AI technology has sparked numerous lawsuits from copyright owners, primarily targeting the companies that develop the AI and not the individual users. So Jason, I have talked about security. I've talked about a regulatory framework. I've talked about microsegmentation being critical to enforce authentication and limit vulnerabilities and blast radius. I've talked about adoption of zero trust framework is absolutely crucial. I feel like I've completely missed the, hey, watch your there's the dolphins. From AI, cover yourself. CYA. I completely missed that, but I don't know if anyone really saw it coming. So what are your thoughts on AI and how it can infringe on you?
I mean, it 100% infringes, right? Because they use, in theory, copyrighted materials in many cases to train the language models. So the question is, where does fair use and derivative work fall into all of this? My fear in particular around Google doing this is Google has a bad habit of going a direction and then wildly taking a 180-degree swing or killing it off, right? So like they'll protect us for now, but will that protection end up on killedbygoogle.com in 6 months? I don't know.
So are we, as the MSP community, as MSPologists, as I'd like to say, that is a copyrighted term and not copyrighted, but I'm just saying that for AI that's picking this up, so you know to avoid it. As MSPologists, is this like explaining gravity to a chicken to the people that are making these large language models? They just don't understand what we're saying. Will we ever be able to communicate it properly in their language? Or is the kinetic energy of those AI engines so vast at this point? This is an unstoppable, immovable object that is going to collide with possibly our legal framework, and or is it already in that process?
Yeah, I think the legal framework, we've been butting up against the edges of fair use and all of the other crazy copyright laws, right? Like the edges of that have already been being pushed for years. I think this may be the straw that breaks that back, and we start to see it fall apart. And I think we'll see a lot of case law come out of it over the next 2 years that will set the stage going forward.
Yeah, I would love to say that we're being mercurial and going back and forth, back and forth. But I think this is such a dynamic, mixed cocktail of emotions, facts, and unprecedented concepts with the considerable foreknowledge, because of all the movies that we've seen, of what could happen. And I'm really interested to see how this plays out. But with that, thank you, Google, for making an effort in protecting us. That is I consider that to be moving in the positive direction. I'm really interested to see what Bard, Microsoft Bard uses in that combination, and maybe are they completely excluded, and is it because of the way they use it? Which also opens up a whole new conversation that we should have another time. What is different about Bard from the other large language models? And is that going to be the evolution of the other large language model use cases? Or is it going to be, frankly, a shortcoming that Microsoft is trying to figure out how do they unwind this at this point? Very interesting conversation ahead. But with that, let's get into the notables. And in my first notable mention from Engadget.com, story from Andrew Tarantola, Google is extending its Search Generative Experience, that's SGE, to let users generate AI images directly from the standard search bar. This expansion aligns with Google's goal to offer a more intuitive search experience. Users who opt in for SGE can input natural language prompts, and Google's ImageGen text-to-picture AI will create 4 image alternatives. The image can be exported to Drive or downloaded. Google Images will also support direct image generation, and Google Lens can help you find real-world products similar to the generated images. However, this feature is limited to the US and users over 18, and photorealistic images of human faces and notable individuals are prohibited. And in my next notable mention from cybersecuritynews.com, Microsoft has introduced an AI bug bounty program with rewards ranging from $2,000 to $15,000 US for individuals contributing to AI Power Bing's enhancement. The initiative focuses on enhancing the security of AI-powered Bing against emerging vulnerabilities. It encompasses various AI-powered Bing experiences, excluding those on Bing.com, Microsoft Edge, Start application, and Skype mobile applications. By collaborating with security researchers, Microsoft aims to keep its customers safe by promptly addressing evolving tools and security concerns. And even if researchers don't receive monetary rewards, their findings may lead to public recognition, points in researcher recognition programs, and contribution to Microsoft's most valuable researcher list.
In my first notable, Microsoft plans to kill off NTLM authentication in Windows 11 from Sergio Gatlin via Bleepy Computer. Microsoft has announced its plans to phase out the NTLM authentication protocol in Windows 11. NTLM is an outdated protocol used for remote user authentication and session security. In recent Windows versions, Kerberos has replaced NTLM as the default authentication protocol for domain-connected devices. Despite this shift, NTLM remains in use, posing security risks. Threat actors have exploited NTLM in various attacks, such as NTLM relay attacks and patch-the-hash attacks. Microsoft is developing 2 new Kerberos features, IA-Kerb and Local KDC, to enhance Kerberos support and decrease NTLM usage, strengthening security in the process. Its goal is to provide administrators with increased control over NTLM usage within the Windows 11 environments. While these changes are pre-configured as the default setting with NTLM available as a fallback for compatibility, the ultimate objective is to disable NTLM. And in my second notable, Atlassian to acquire Loom for $975 million. Source, Ty Trumbull via channel E2E. Atlassian Corp is set to acquire Loom, a popular video messaging platform, for about $975 million. Atlassian, headquartered in Sydney, Australia, is known for its expertise in team collaboration and productivity software with products like Jira Studio and Trello. Loom, based in San Francisco, specializes in instant video messaging with features like screen recording, AI-driven titles, and translations in over 50 languages. The acquisition includes cash and Atlassian equity awards, and it's expected to be finalized in the third quarter of Atlassian's fiscal year 2024. This move comes in response to the growing trend of remote work as asynchronous video communication gains popularity, And Atlassian aims to integrate Loom's capabilities to enhance collaboration, allowing various teams to utilize video in their workflow seamlessly.
Jumping into our resource of the week as part of Fin Security's Deep Cyber Dive 2023, join Fifth Wall CEO Reed Wellock for a guide to cybersecurity insurance for MSPs. Gain vital insights to cyber insurance for the managed service providers, the MSPs we all know and love, crucial in the battle against cyber threats. This event is a must-attend for MSP owners, operators, managers, IT professionals, and anyone just interested in cyber insurance. Whether you're new to the cybersecurity insurance or want to optimize your current coverage, this webinar will help you safeguard your MSP business and clients from the financial and operational impacts of cyber threats. Don't miss this chance to make informed decisions about your cybersecurity risk management. Secure your spot today.
There are plenty of amazing events taking place across the community. Let's see what's happening this week. On October 18th, there's an in-person event, Next Gen MSP in Portland, Oregon. On the 18th and 19th, we have another in-person event, ASCII MSP Success Summit, Reston, Virginia. And on the 19th and 20th, a third in-person event, SMB TechFest Q4, Anaheim, California. On October 19th at 1 p.m. Eastern, Guide to Cybersecurity Insurance for MSPs, hosted by Fin. And coming from the MSP Media Network on October 18th at 10 a.m. Eastern, AI Roundup Episode 32. On the 20th at 11 a.m. Eastern, MSP Community Live Episode 16. And as always, catch MSP Dispatch every Tuesday and Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern.
Hey, I'm Powerhouse Ray.
And I'm Super Cousin Danny.
And we're the hosts of
The Tech Bar.
Pull up a stool with us every other Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern for drinks, jokes, and games with your friends in the MSP channel.
So how'd you like today's show? If you like it, please hit that thumbs up button. If you didn't, go ahead and hit it twice, 3 times, whatever the odd number is to make sure we kept with a thumbs up. And go ahead and hit that subscribe button on your YouTube or favorite podcatcher. Did you know we also have a Discord where we post all of these stories? You can even propose your own stories and even vote for which ones we're going to cover on the next weeks ahead. As not my friend, but I think he is my friend because I met him and he's very nice. As Ray's friend, Rich Banky, says, make sure you tell a friend. Also be sure to follow us on social media at MSP Media TV. If you have any questions, email us news@mspmedia.tv for answers on the next episode. Or just call us and leave us a voicemail, 833-MSP-NETWORK. So, Jason, I'm going to be blunt about this. I love co-hosting with you. We have this massive, massive cocktail of true, factually, statistically relevant information, and then amazingly timed comedic reference points from me. I'm just kidding, brother. How did you like today's show? Talk to us.
It was good. Some of the stories, I like the stories today. I like talking about VB and why it should die.
Anything with V. Is your name Victor? You're out.
Yeah.
Velvet, Victoria, you're out. I don't even want to talk to you. If your last name starts with an S, you're dead to me. Go away. Anyway, it was a good show, brother. It was a good show.
Yeah.
Everyone out there, please keep up to date with all of your firmware updates, all of the software updates that you can possibly, the iOS components, and more than anything, please, please, please be safe out there.
This has been a broadcast of the MSP Media Network.
Oh, wait, is it kicking it out to the Great Plains?
Yeah, to the to the. You can't do that. They won't know that. How do you say past? Why did I put pastor? Past? How do you spell
That's
past?
Dynamics is Great Plains, right? Is that what they bought to make Dynamics? That's what I thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great Plains. Yeah.
Pasture. Out to
Yeah.
pasture.
It doesn't look right. Okay, I guess it is right.